All right, I'm here with Coach Robert Wimberly. Coach, first, congratulations on your induction into the Florida Wrestling Hall of Fame.
Thank you. I mean, obviously, I'm proud that you guys would think about me, but I'm humble more than proud. Just the people who are in it, and who I'm going in with it. I just feel a lot of respect.
Yeah. So, what does it mean to you?
Personally, I've never been about a rah-rah guy, but just the people who are important to me, that they think that way, it means something,
Yeah.
And a number of those people are involved in this, and that's why it is important to me.
Very cool. So, I want you to take us back in time to when you started wrestling. Who got you into it? How'd you start? And what was what were you thinking?
There was no way I was ever going to be a wrestler. Okay. First of all, when I was a little kid, my dad was in the military. We traveled around a lot.
Okay.
So we were in Puerto Rico, and my mom was getting mad because I was getting in fights in school. So she got me into judo to take my aggression out, whatever.
Okay.
And she said that was just a big mistake. It just made me better at my fights. Because the fights ended up on the ground. But that was my only, as a kid, introduction to any type of wrestling type of activities until I was a sophomore in high school.
Oh.
And I was a football player, baseball player. And I was a little guy, but I was fast. So I was running back and return man on our football team. And the running back coach, George Haberline, was also the head wrestling coach. And he goes, hey, you should come out for wrestling. And I go, I play second base. I'm a second baseman. I've never done any wrestling. Played soccer in middle school. Never wrestled it. Even thought about it. My middle school didn't even have it. And he goes, no, you don't understand. He goes, you are going out for wrestling.
Didn't get a choice.
I go, man. I really like baseball. And he goes, you're going out for wrestling. And then I talked to my dad about it. And my dad was a military guy. And he goes, well, he's your coach. And, you should respect what he's saying. And I'm like, all right, man, best thing I ever did.
What do you remember your first reaction to wrestling practice or a first match or anything?
I remember my first match. And it's like if you visualize yourself in a camera and just this, that, just like, what's going on? All right, did I win? Did I lose? I don't know. We're shaking hands. They're raising my hand. I don't know why. But that was my first experience.
Very cool. All right, so thinking back to you've had a long career. You wrestled in college and everything else. Is there a single most memorable match?
There's a couple. One actually was right out of high school. The summer. They used to take, when the Fargo trip now they have, well, it used to be in Iowa City. And they would take one guy per weight class from the state to go to it. So I didn't win state that year. I injured myself and had knee surgery. And I actually lost to Anthony Calderero in the semifinals at state that year. So he was the number one guy to go, but they would have wrestle-offs. And we'd go, it was University of Florida to have the camp there. And before the camp started, we'd have the wrestle-offs. The winners were staying, the losers were going home.
Oh, wow.
So, Anthony beat me by 2 points in the semis of state that year, but I had reconstructive knee surgery right after that and came back just in time to go there. And so we had a wrestle-off. And they weren't techs back then. And I beat him 22-2. And I did not want to pin him. I wanted just to have the match to go on because I was just having fun.
Wow. All right. So that was got me into when I started. That's when I started feeling competitive. Sure.
And then I think one of the biggest matches it's funny, as an old man, I went to the U.S. Open at the age of 40.
Oh, wow.
And decided, because my kids were getting into it then, I said, well, they were like, well, you should wrestle too, Dad. You're like, well, if you guys go to these tournaments, I'll go to these tournaments with you. And it was at Disney, at the Disney complex. And I ended up losing the second round to by 2 points to Jim Grunwald, who ended up being the Olympian that year. And then there's this young guy who was going to the University of Michigan that was supposed to be pretty tough. His name was Joe Warren. I met Joe Warren in the blood round.
Oh, wow.
Right? Joe Warren didn't place. I placed. So
That's very cool.
That was cool.
That is
cool.
Funny
because he was not happy. He wanted to fight, and I was just kind of laughing and whispering things in his ear, maybe making him a little bit more mad. But I respected him because he was such a competitor. But it just felt good that I could do it again.
Sure. Is there somebody that you idealized in wrestling?
A few, as a younger wrestler.
Yeah.
When I started getting into thinking about international wrestling, believe it or not, it was Bobby Douglas, because he was, at a weight class where I had Dan Gable and all the, big names, and Bobby Douglas, and because he was like an underdog, an outsider, and I kind of felt I was at the time, and had a poster of him on my wall in high school, and then when I went to college, I had a poster on my wall.
Very cool. Very cool.
Looked up to him.
If you were to think back to a personal attribute that you embody that's helped you succeed in wrestling, what would that be?
Yeah, a crazy sense that I'm going to win every time. I just felt like I was going to win, and I just would go hard. And my college coach, Mary Huska, helped me with this later on, was that, embrace. Everyone hurts. Everyone gets tired. Embrace it, accept it, and then put it behind you. Mm-hmm. And you're so much freer because you don't worry about those things anymore.
Very cool. Is there a person that has had the greatest influence on your wrestling career?
I wouldn't say there's three guys.
Okay.
But it would be two guys from Florida, Chuck Almeida and Rick Tucci. And Chuck coached at a neighboring high school, but he'd always do all the summer stuff wrestling for us. Mm-hmm. And he got me involved into trying to make national teams. And as I started making these teams, started placing in these national tournaments. And sometimes I was like there by myself. And there's Rick Tucci and Chuck Almeida, and they were always just kind of. I felt like they were looking, just watching out for me. And hey, Bobby, what are you doing tonight? Afterwards, I go, well, I got it. I'm going to go. He goes, we're taking you out to dinner, because they knew I was on a budget, and just kind of watched over me.
Very cool.
And then my college coach, Harry Huska, just the mentality of just getting it done, which helped me in my career as a firefighter and as a fire officer, about accepting the hardest job always. We'll take the hardest job, and when things are important, we're going to go hard, and we're going to get it. We're going to get it done. That's the same mentality, I thought.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Is there an outstanding memory you have of wrestling, and it can be as either an athlete or a coach?
Oh, I'll tell you, it's right now. It's not as an athlete.
It's not.
I had the pleasure to watch both my sons win state titles. I got to watch my younger son actually, win an overtime state title. It was the first one he won, and then his senior year, he was at a weight class where there were returning state champs, returning national champs, Franklin Gomez, and we never draw. We get the bad draws. We get the tough guys in the semis, and got to watch him just roll through these tournaments and do so well that I was so proud of them. Not because they followed my footsteps, but because they embraced something they loved and did so well, and I got to just be the proud father and part of coaching them as well, which was nice.
Very cool. Looking back, if you could start over and change, would there be something that you would change?
It's funny you say that, because like you always talk about, you see these movies about timelines where if you just the butterfly effect, and if I change something, then do I end up here now? Do I have the grandkids I have now? I don't know.
Right.
So would I change anything if that was a possibility? No. Now, if I could realistically say, yeah, some things like I would have started sooner. Mm-hmm. I would have been healthier to my body and treating it better, as far as which athletes are better now, and I would have avoided the surgeries I had to have had. Mm-hmm. But, that's here or there. So,
yeah,
not a lot I would change.
I got you. Last question. What would you like people to remember most about Coach Wimberly? As it can be as a wrestler, it can be as a person, it can be as a coach. Just what do you want people to remember most about you?
Well, as a competitor, that I was going to go hard, and you could trust that I was going to get the job done for you. In the sport of wrestling, I've learned it to be a brotherhood. And I'm not trying to be patriotic, but a brotherhood, sisterhood. But it's just been something that I've learned that people that throughout my career and coaching career that I've come to know and love, and some of my athletes or some of my other coaches or compatriots, I love them. And I just want them. That's why I feel that the sport. And I'm sure other sports say they have the same thing, but I think we do have a bond in our sport, and I just want that to be known.
Very cool. Well, Coach, I want to say congratulations on your induction into the Florida Wrestling Hall of Fame.
Yeah, you're one of those guys too. I've always respected and
thank you.
And read your, paid attention to what you guys are saying and appreciated it.
Thank you, Coach, and I want to wish you the best of luck in the future.
Thanks, man.
All right.
Bring that down. Lee, you'll meet it down here too. First, again, I'd like to thank the board and its members for, mentioning me in the same breath as these great wrestlers that have been inducted this year. I'm just humbled and proud to be with you guys. I mean that. I want to thank all these friends over here that came to enjoy this with me. My grandsons, my sons, John and Jeff, my daughter-in-law, Amanda, my brother, Mark. I've got two teammates, actually my brother, Mark, and John Greger were both the teammates with me at Ohio University. John Greger was the meanest guy in the wrestling room there was. It was just, I loved him, but all the heavyweight guys did not like him. He was just pickling. And my brother, Mark, real quick story. He was kind of a journeyman as a freshman, and our starting 130, we're wrestling Kentucky, and they had a guy named Ricky Delgado who was really tough, so our starting 134 pounder somehow wasn't making weight. He didn't want to wrestle Ricky, so when this freshman Mark said, "Hey, you're in the match," and 15 seconds into the match, Delgado's on his back, and held him on his back for about 45 seconds before the ref finally decided he had to call the pin because they didn't want to call it because that wasn't supposed to happen. So Mark stole the thunder that night. Anyways, as well, also got a lot of my, quite a few of my high school wrestlers that wrestled for me at St. Thomas Aquinas. Gunnar and Alex Erie over there come up to join us with me. Old longtime friends, Victor Gonzalez and Will Johnson. Longtime friends for forever. Vic and I traveled around wrestling when we were older in life. Well, not older, we're older now, but late in our wrestling career, we didn't want to give it up. So we would travel to the Southeast regions. I remember Johnny Johnson. You still remember him from Oklahoma? You remember that match? Yeah. We didn't want to give it up. That was great. How did I get here? I wasn't a wrestler as a little kid. Didn't know what wrestling was. I was a little kid, but I was fast. So I was on the football team. I was on the track team. I was a kickoff returner and receiver running back. And the running back coach happened to be the wrestling coach as well. And he goes, "Hey, it's my sophomore year in high school. And he goes, you're coming off of wrestling this year." And I go, "Well, I play second base on the baseball team." And he goes, "No, you understand, you're coming out for wrestling." And I went home, talked to my dad. My dad was like a career military guy. And he's like, "Well, you better do what the coach says." His name was George Haberline, and he was a PA transplant from down at South Dade High School. He was one of the first coaches down there at South Dade High School. And thank God, he changed my life. I still didn't, as a high school, I really didn't know what wrestling was. I just went out there and went hard. Just went hard and did what they told me, my second year in wrestling, in my junior year, I'm taking second in the nation in freestyle. And I have no idea what moves I did or how I did it, how I got there. I was just going as hard as I could go. And beating guys that probably were better than me. I just somehow won. Actually, I lost to the same guy 2 years in a row at the high school nationals, a guy named Jeff Kerber from Iowa. But I took second and third to him. I couldn't figure him out. But so then I went to the University of Florida. I got a scholarship to the University of Florida because I did well at these national tournaments. And Jeff Davis was the assistant coach there, and he kind of, got me going there. And I was not a great student in Florida. So I wrestled for a while there, and then had some academic issues, and then we had a really good team. We had a top 10 team in the country, and then that was the year that this was 1979, they dropped the wrestling program. And we were, I guess, the last, Chris, we were the last Division I program in Florida, I believe. I think maybe Stetson was another team as well. But they called us in for a meeting, and we thought they were calling us in to congratulate us on our season. And the meeting was to let us know that they were letting us go. So we all went our ways to different universities, and ended up getting recruited by a guy named Harry Huska, who was a two-time national champ for Ohio U, and just a guy who taught me a lot of stuff in life. He taught me how to just, wrestling is a grind. Everybody hears that, everybody talks about that, and you're gonna get tired. You're gonna feel pain, and once you just accept that and get over that, and get past that, then wrestling gets easy. And he was big on just being the mental part of the wrestling for me, and it helped me later on. Helped me on the job when I got in the fire department. We were always, I made sure my crew was the crew that was looking for the hardest job or the toughest job, and the jobs that meant the most when people's lives were on the line. And I think wrestling, was big in my success on the job, on the fire department, on the hazmat team. It was just the mentality. A quick story I want to share for you. This is for my wife, who I need to thank the most because she put up with all this. I got married in 1982. But I also qualified for the World Team Trials in '82. So I had this was things were different traveling back then. But I had an airline ticket for me to fly out there, but not for her. So I cashed in our airline ticket, and her and I took a Greyhound bus to Colorado Springs for our honeymoon. To spend the next month training there. And a funny story, the married couples back then, this is early in the training center there, stayed off campus at a place called the Colorado School for the Deaf and Blind. And the students there were also the ones who managed the apartments there. They lived in big quads. And I believe it was a guy named Scott Bliss, Bruce Baumgartner, and actually my son's wrestling coach at Michigan State, Tom Hinkle, were the other married couples living in that quad. And you would we learned this quick, but there would be a knock at the door. And the wives would first go, would say, I'm decent, I'm not decent, whatever. And what they didn't realize was that knock was just a warning. We're coming in. So they get a knock on the door, and a lot of the wives the wives were caught maybe off guard because of the caretakers there weren't hearing our answers. And then it was just an interesting time out there. I'm lucky enough that wrestling became part of my life as well. That I was lucky that my sons, got involved as well. I was fortunate enough to be a high school wrestling coach that they were attended as well, and blessed. And my best memories aren't of my own wrestling, but getting to see my sons win titles and being part of it, and making it a family affair that's been for us. Again, I want to thank you for involving me with these great people that are also being inducted. I'm proud, but I'm also humbled by it. And thank you.